Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to dive deep into a single news report today, breaking down exactly what it claims, one slide at a time.
Okay, so we're looking at a Fox News report that asks a pretty provocative question. It claims that a lot of the recent protests you've probably seen on the news, well, they might not be what they seem. The big question is, are these actually genuine grassroots movements, or is something a little more coordinated going on behind the curtain?
All right, so where does this whole investigation even begin? Well, it starts with something pretty simple, just a visual observation. The report points out that a bunch of different protests, for causes that seem totally unrelated, by the way, they all look, well, surprisingly similar.
And this slide really gets to the heart of that observation. According to the source, it didn't matter if it was a pro-Iran rally or an anti-ICE protest. Key things, we're talking the signs, the language, even the font they used, were all, and this is the key word, allegedly identical. Kind of strange, right?
So, you can imagine, seeing all these similarities, it got a journalist named Nate Freeman thinking. He started to dig a little deeper, asking himself, wait a minute, are these movements really as spontaneous as they look? Are they truly grassroots?
And that visual cue, that weird similarity, led the journalist to do what all good investigators do. You follow the money. This is where the story really pivots from just noticing things to a full-blown investigation. The report alleges there's a very specific financial trail that connects all these seemingly separate events.
The report zeroes in on one central figure, an American businessman named Neville Roy Singham. He's described in the source as pro-China and is pointed to as one of the main funders, the guy who's allegedly bankrolling the network behind these protests.
And we're not talking about a small amount of cash here. The report, and it cites the Free Press for this, claims that a whopping $20 million from Singham went to just one of the main organizing groups. That is a serious amount of money.
So how did that money supposedly get there? Well, this slide lays out the alleged trail pretty clearly. The report says the funds start with Singham. Then they move through a Goldman Sachs philanthropy fund, and finally, they land at an organization called the People's Forum.
Okay, so that money trail leads us right to the front door of this group, the People's Forum. And according to the source material, this place isn't just getting the money, it's the central hub. The report puts it at the absolute heart of this whole network.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The central claim is this. Those people you see at the front of the protests, the ones with the megaphones leading the chants, the report alleges they aren't just passionate volunteers showing up on their own time. They're supposedly paid full-time organizers on the payroll of the People's Forum.
To make its case, the report points to a specific person, line in full hand. She's identified as having a full-time staff position. Her title is educator at the People's Forum, and she's allegedly seen at protests all over New York City. So, how do they know she's paid? The report says they looked at public tax forms, the 990s, and found her total annual compensation. It's a very specific number, $78,649, basically just under 80 grand a year. And the report is quick to point out, this isn't just about one person. It's presented as a pattern. They mention other staff members, like the general manager, David Chung, who are also alleged to be paid full-time organizers seen at all sorts of different protests.
Okay, so now that the report has identified these specific, allegedly paid individuals, it starts to zoom out. It tries to connect the dots to show what it claims is a much bigger picture. And this is really the crux of the argument. The report asserts that it's the same group of organizers being seen at all these different events. I mean, look at this list. Pro-Iran rallies, pro-Palestine rallies, anti-ICE protests, even protests against Elon Musk and Donald Trump. The claim is that the same people are behind the scenes at all of them. So, what does this all add up to? Well, it leads to the report's biggest, most explosive claim, that the organization behind all these events is, and this is a direct quote from the source, totally manufactured. And that really brings us to the fundamental question at the heart of all this, right? It's all about authenticity. Are we looking at a genuine grassroots movement, or is it, as the report claims, manufactured? This whole thing really opens up a bigger debate about what activism even looks like today.
The report even suggests that many of the people who genuinely care and show up to these protests might have no idea about this alleged network behind them. The journalist puts it this way, quote, "You might want to know that you've become a pawn in someone's larger plan."
So yeah, it all really boils down to this one big contrast that the report is drawing. On one side, you've got what we think of as a grassroots movement, right? Something that just bubbles up organically from the people.
And on the other side, you have what this report alleges is happening here, a manufactured movement, one that's funded and directed from the very top.
So, these allegations really leave us with a final, pretty thought-provoking question. I mean, look, every cause needs some level of funding and organization to get off the ground, right? But the question is, where do you draw the line? At what point does supporting a cause become manufacturing one? Does that change its meaning? It's definitely something to chew on.